So she's already spoke to them and confirmed, oh yeah, we were here.
Yeah, you heard that right. One of Foolio's alleged killers just admitted they were at the scene. A leaked jailhouse phone call between the suspects has surfaced, and what's on it is downright chilling. These voices don't sound scared, shaken, or even remorseful. They sound smug, calmly discussing the murder like it was just another mission. One of them even laughs and says, "We got him." That's not grief or regret. That's confidence, the kind that crawls under your skin because it feels planned, like they knew exactly what they were doing. But this case runs deeper than just one phone call. Foolio was murdered on June 23, 2024, in Tampa, Florida. While celebrating his birthday, he had been active on social media that night, posting his location, inviting fans to a pool party. But he wasn't just attracting fans, he was being hunted. Investigators later confirmed that his killers used his social posts to track his movements around the city, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. That moment came around 4:30 a.m., right outside a Holiday Inn. Foolio was ambushed by gunfire. 3 others were injured but survived. The suspects, Sean Gaywright, Richard Murphy, and Davian Murphy, alleged shooters. Isaiah Chance and Elisa Andrews were accused of helping plan the hit. But this wasn't just street violence. Prosecutors say the level of coordination was next. A mission. They had one goal coming to Tampa, the state attorney said: to kill. And now, thanks to this jailhouse call, we know how they felt after the job was done. The call was recorded just days after the arrests and later leaked online. In it, you hear laughter. You hear cocky voices mocking the media coverage, taunting the fact that they ain't even see it coming. One of them even refers to Foolio by name, coldly saying he's done for. Let that sink in. A man was murdered in public, and the ones accused of doing it, they're sitting behind bars, laughing about it.
Now the world works hard to get shot on. Man, they shot his foot off last year, give him that pirate nub. Man, that post still got his foot shot off, ain't supposed to be bouncing around on it.
This wasn't just a cold-blooded murder, it was a display of mockery. Foolio's killers didn't just take his life, they mocked the very idea that he ever thought he was untouchable. The most disturbing part, it wasn't just what they said. On that jail call, it was how they said it. No fear, no panic, no hint of regret. If anything, it sounded like they were celebrating. One detective who reviewed the call even said it felt more like locker room banter, except in this case, the win was a human life lost. From early on, investigators believed gang ties played a role. During a press conference, the Hillsborough State Attorney's Office confirmed those suspicions. The suspects were allegedly affiliated with ATK and 1200, both known rivals of Foolio's crew. The infamous 6 Block. Authorities uncovered a mountain of evidence, surveillance footage, cell phone tracking, even license plate scans. It showed the suspects trailing Foolio all night, watching him move from spot to spot, waiting for the right time to strike. It was a calculated setup that ended in bloodshed.
3 shooters exited a vehicle and walked in the direction of the hotel. They murdered Jones with a handgun and 2 rifles. This barrage of gunfire also struck 3 additional victims.
If this all sounds like a military-style operation, that's because it practically was. The level of coordination was surgical until it wasn't. Despite the planning, the suspects got sloppy. They didn't cover their tracks. Cell tower data, license plate readers, and eyewitness reports helped investigators piece everything together fast. The trail wasn't cold, it was practically glowing, and once arrests started, the vibe shifted from silence to spotlight. It was no longer about staying hidden, it was about making noise. One of the most damning pieces of evidence, the surveillance footage, chilling, crystal clear, and now circulating online. It captures 3 gunmen moving in formation, the hotel entrance, then unleashing gunfire from multiple angles. One of them even pauses to scan for movement before calmly reloading. It's not chaotic, it's calculated. This isn't the kind of video meant for social media, kind that seals verdicts in courtrooms.
And they are shooting at Charles now, and you can see that he's the passenger in that car that's moving and trying to flee. And again, they're still shooting at him.
So why did this case explode online? Because the public isn't just witnessing the crime, they're hearing the aftermath. The leaked jail call didn't just rattle nerves, it confirmed a chilling suspicion. Some of these murders aren't fueled by fear or survival, they're driven by fame, clout, and notoriety. It's not just about pulling the trigger, it's about going viral afterward. Even Foolio's harshest critics were disturbed, because if this is how the accused behave after taking a life, what kind of message does that send to the next generation, watching from their screens? For Foolio's mother, the pain cuts deeper than headlines. She showed up to the press conference just hours after the arrests were announced, her voice trembling, her eyes full of grief. She made it clear this isn't just about justice for her son, it's about accountability, for a culture that treats murder like a performance, for a system that allows killers to laugh behind bars, and for a community that's still trying to make sense of it all.
His fans knew him as Foolio. But to his mom, He's Charles. We're fighting to make sure that she gets.
And the question still hangs in the air. How many more young black men will be reduced to segs before something finally changes? Because if you thought that jail call was chilling, just wait, there's more. What one of the suspects did, right before the shooting, could blow this entire case wide open. We're talking betrayal, wiretaps, and not just one but 2 jailhouse calls. For most people, betrayal is quiet, subtle. But for Foolio, it may have started with a simple text and ended in a hail of bullets. We've already uncovered how 5 suspects allegedly tracked and murdered Foolio during his birthday weekend in Tampa. We've broken down the disturbing jail call, cold, arrogant, and laced with casual laughter over a man's death. But what if that wasn't the first time Foolio's name was mentioned on a jail call? And what if someone close to him played a role in setting it all up? Because the next layer of this tragedy isn't just about what happened after the murder, it's about the clues hiding in plain sight before a single shot was fired. Go back 48 hours before the ambush. Foolio had just arrived in Tampa. He was hyping up his birthday weekend on Instagram, flashing bottles, dropping party details, and openly sharing his vocation. What he didn't know, someone was watching, and maybe someone on the inside was already moving against him.
Got to this bit, Tampa, Florida, man. Pool party puts up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, man.
What Foolio likely didn't realize was just how many people were watching, not to celebrate with him, but to take him out. Investigators believe his constant social media updates acted like a trail of breadcrumbs, making it almost effortless for his enemies to follow. But it gets worse. Law enforcement is now seriously considering the possibility that someone within Foolio's own circle shared his location, not by accident, but with intention, according to police. Surveillance footage shows the suspects' vehicles were tailing Foolio well before he arrived at the Holiday Inn. They had eyes on him at earlier venues, too, suggesting they didn't just stumble upon him. They knew his entire plan for the night. Which raises a terrifying question. How? Foolio's own mother told state prosecutors that her son had been trying to lay low. Friends say he was even planning to switch hotels that night. But the shooters got there first. That kind of timing doesn't happen by chance. Either the suspects were watching very closely or someone was feeding them insider information. And here's where the story takes a darker turn. 2 independent sources familiar with the investigation say there's a second jailhouse call, one the public hasn't heard yet. This call is different, less arrogant, more cautious, more coded. While law enforcement hasn't confirmed if it contains a direct confession, one suspect can allegedly be heard asking, "How much they really got on us though?" Can those kinds of questions, when placed next to surveillance footage, cell phone tracking, and gang connections, paint a picture of suspects who were confident when they struck but now fear who might be flipping. But that's not all. While Foolio had public beefs, he also had private friendships that went south. One of the most explosive claims under review is that someone close to Foolio, an associate who had a falling out, was quietly working with rival factions in ATK and 1200, the very groups law enforcement believes were behind the hit. This alleged informant's name hasn't been released, but the timeline of their betrayal lines up with when Foolio's location was leaked, and texts were exchanged between the suspects. Was Foolio set up by someone he once trusted? According to multiple sources, yes. And if that's true, it means this wasn't just gang retaliation, it was a calculated betrayal. One former detective turned gang expert called it cartel-level coordination. What stood out most wasn't the violence, it was the precision. They blended street tactics with digital tracking, IG stories, live locations, even facial recognition. Cams near the hotel. One retired officer put it best. They weren't brawling, they were hunting, they played chess. That's why the second jail call is so critical. It might reveal who the suspects believed they could confide in, who they suspected was cooperating with police. Because even with a mountain of digital evidence, prosecutors still have one obstacle: time. That's where Elisa Andrews comes in. Andrews, one of the alleged planners, is rumored to be considering a plea deal. Her attorney has already gone public, saying she's not waiving her right to a speedy trial. Translation: she may be planning to use that leverage to strike a deal fast, and if she flips, she could name names. Who leaked Foolio's location? Who bought the guns? Who's next? Because this wasn't just a one-time hit. This was part of a larger chain reaction. And during a press conference just days after the murder, Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters made it clear this story is far from over.
Individuals have chosen lives of urban terrorism. Florida, Tampa, JSO, Jacksonville, Miami, wherever you are. Will not tolerate foolishness. Will hold you accountable for your criminal actions.
But the bigger question still lingers. If these jail calls were being monitored, why wasn't this attack stopped? Why were suspects, many already on law enforcement's radar, able to plan a coordinated hit, execute it, and then laugh about it afterward? And more importantly, what is law enforcement doing now to stop the next high-profile hit, especially if Foolio's murder was just one battle in a much bigger street war that hasn't ended? Right now, the suspects await trial. Behind bars, they've been separated. Correctional officials fear they may try to launch another attack or even silence someone on the verge of flipping, because this case isn't over. If anything, it's just beginning. Every new jailhouse leak, every motion filed, every confiscated phone, it all adds another piece to a puzzle soaked in betrayal and blood. Inside the facility, a different war is unfolding. According to a corrections officer who spoke anonymously, the suspects charged in Foolio's murder have been placed on protective watch, not just from general population, but from each other. The fear they might orchestrate more violence or intimidate potential cooperators, and that fear may already be justified. Sources close to the investigation say someone may have flipped, whether it's Elisa Andrews or Isaiah Chance. Legal experts have noted strange activity and unusual visitation rules, timing of motion filings that suggest a deal may already be in motion. If that's true, then the second jail call, the one we haven't heard, could be something entirely different. A warning, a coded threat. One chilling line from that call reportedly says, "Tell Shorty not to make this bigger than it got." To be vague, cryptic, and undeniably dangerous. And behind all of this lies a deeper level of control, psychological manipulation. Sources claim that suspect Sean Githright, one of the alleged shooters, has a history of coercion. He's known for controlling younger associates with gaslighting, emotional pressure, and promises of financial protection. He runs it like a mob, one jail insider said. Even from inside, people are scared of him. That fear could be why someone like Andrews may have hesitated to cooperate if it meant taking a murder charge. Because in these gangs, loyalty isn't about friendship, it's about fear. Snitching doesn't just put you at risk, it puts your family in the crosshairs. Now, prosecutors are trying to flip that leverage. Reports suggest one suspect has agreed to tell everything: how Foolio's location was leaked, who paid for the weapons, and who's next. Because this wasn't a random act of violence. This was a chain reaction. Then came the twist nobody saw coming. Just when the city was preparing for trial, a bombshell dropped a sixth suspect. But this man didn't pull a trigger. He wasn't in the SUV. He wasn't even in the city. According to investigators, he might have orchestrated the entire setup. A former business manager, someone Foolio once trusted, someone with access to his schedule, hotel bookings, and inner circle. Digital forensics recovered WhatsApp chats from a burner phone tied to Elisa Andrews. One message stood out: "Let the streets take care of it. Just make sure dude not moving." Last minute again, no name was mentioned, but investigators say the pattern and context matched one person. When they brought him in for questioning, he broke. In sealed grand jury testimony, he admitted everything. He believed Foolio was becoming too paranoid, too controlling. He knew he was about to be fired from the team, and he made his move first. In exchange for a 5-figure payout routed through Cash App and digital wallets, he leaked Foolio's private location, including the last-minute switch to the Holiday Inn. That leak sealed Foolio's fate. What hurts most? Fans had no idea. This man wasn't some random outsider. He had been on stage with Foolio, smiling for cameras, flashing chains. The betrayal stung worse than the bullets. On X, Instagram, and TikTok, tributes poured in, so did fury. Y'all snaked the realist. One out the city, one post read, "He always said the ops wouldn't take him. He never expected his own people." Hashtags like hashtag justice for Foolio, hashtag 6block forever, and hashtag they set him up trended for days. Even rivals expressed disgust. One underground Jacksonville rapper tweeted, "We ain't never rock with Brewer, but that set up SHT. Nah, that's coward work." Asterisk then came Charleston White, never one to hold back. The controversial commentator posted a reaction video that went instantly viral. Some praised his raw honesty, others slammed him for being heartless. But one line in that video stopped people cold. "Y'all keep saying rest in peace, like peace ever existed for these boys. They were born into war, raised in war, and y'all watched it like a movie." It racked up 5 million views in 24 hours. And as that line echoed across timelines, Foolio's memory began taking physical form. Murals appeared across Jacksonville and Tampa. Spray-painted portraits, lyrics, candlelight, vigils. At one vigil, a high school student stood in front of a crowd and said, "He made us feel seen, like, if you made it out of 6block, you could make it anywhere." But even in mourning, the tension rose. Tampa police increased patrols around the murder site after someone spray-painted the Holiday Inn wall with, "We know who did it. This ain't over." Then came the final twist. While cleaning out his belongings, Foolio's family discovered a locked hard drive. Inside, audio files, photos, and voice memos. One voice memo dated just 11 days before his death was chilling. Foolio sounded exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally. "I can't even sleep unless my back to the wall," he says. "It's like I'm paranoid of everybody, even the ones that call me family." He ended with a grim prediction. "If something happens to Emma, it's gonna be one of them that smiled in my face." That recording is now evidence. The sixth man has been indicted. The other 5 await trial in what could become one of Florida's most high-profile gang-related murder cases in history. As the legal battles begin, Foolio's fans remain torn. Some cry for vengeance. Others beg for peace. hoping that maybe this time, the cycle of bloodshed will end. But one thing is clear, this wasn't just another rapper gunned down in the streets. This was Charles Jones, a 26-year-old man who climbed out of one of Jacksonville's hardest blocks with nothing but talent, drive, and a voice, only to be silenced not by his rivals but by the very people who should have protected him. When those courtroom doors open, we won't just witness trials, we'll witness reckonings, because Foolio didn't just die. He left behind evidence, a warning, and a legacy that demands justice. Thank you for watching. If you want to dive deeper into the truth behind hip-hop's most dangerous feuds, click one of the videos now playing on your screen.